So now I move on to the next family, which is the sustainable or material sourcing. In this family, we have adopted a different strategy that is a bit different than other rating systems. We have concentrated mainly on the building envelope and the building structure. So we can see we have external walls, internal walls, floor slabs, roof, and windows and doors at the same time. The first one is local and regional materials. Here we are focusing on the source where this material comes from, where it is extracted, the raw material, and where it is manufactured. And the intent here is to minimize the impact of the transportation of these materials to the site. So you know, if a material is manufactured in USA, the distance is very long from USA to here. You need maybe by airplane, by shipping, this transportation will create a big impact on the environment through the emissions from the vehicles, either the planes, the airplanes, or the ships. So what we care about here is to have the minimum distance between the extraction and the construction site. Let's take an example, the external walls. First, we enter the reference for the wall. Here, we are entering material layers. So if a wall is constructed of 3 layers or more, we have to input the same reference number here at the beginning. So EW_1. Material layer, we can say it's an external wall, so most probably it should have concrete blocks. Let's say this one. The thickness, 150 millimeters, 15 centimeters. The total area of the whole building, of the whole external walls, 500 square meters. Okay, extraction distance. Here we have 3 options for calculating the score or the volume that is being generated either locally or regionally. We consider, because we are in Lebanon and we know that we don't have a lot of raw materials within our country, sorry, just to put it on mute. Okay, so we consider that if a material is extracted and manufactured in Lebanon, it is considered, the full volume is considered within this criterion. Example is the concrete. So the concrete is generated here. We are extracting the raw material from Shikka, for example, and it is manufactured also there. So 100% of the concrete can be considered as eligible for this criterion. If a material is extracted not locally, it's extracted from more than 200 kilometers from the site, but it is manufactured in Lebanon. In this case, we consider 75% of the volume is acceptable, is eligible for this criterion. And in case the material is extracted and manufactured between 200 and 800 kilometers from the site, we considered 50% of the material. And if it is beyond 800, so if extraction or manufacture are beyond 800 kilometers from the site, we don't consider it, it's 0, okay? So for example, here, if we have a material that is extracted in Lebanon and manufactured in Lebanon, so the total volume is 75, and the total volume is considered as compliant here. If it is extracted, I will put more easy numbers, so it's 150 and 15 cubic meters, 100, so it's 10 cubic meters. If it's extracted, let's say, in 250 kilometers, it's 75% is compliant with this criteria, okay? And if it's more, if it's manufactured more than 200 kilometers, so it's 50%, okay? Same applies to all other material types, external walls, internal walls, floors, and roof. And we have created also, I don't know if it's showing here, yes, the material database. So you'll have within the calculator a material database for all construction materials that we find in the local market, and even some are not common here. For walls, for flooring and roof as well, and for windows, okay? The reason why we did this strategy is because you will see later on within the energy within the energy that we are calculating the U values of the walls and windows and the floors. So that's why when we input these values here in the local and regional materials, it will automatically be sent to the other criteria, including the energy for U value calculations. And also, similar to the regional materials, we have the recycled materials, same input. You just have to input these values once, and it automatically will be populated here. For recycled materials, here it's not showing because it's in Excel, but in the platform it will be done automatically. Yeah. Okay, so it's the same. We input the thickness, the total area, the total volume, it's calculated, and we have to input the percentage recycled content. For example, when we have steel, usually we have a percentage. It can be from 10% up to 90% of recycled content. And based on that, we calculate the score of this criteria. For the first one, I go back, sorry. For the first one, the score will be 100% if we achieve 90% of local or regional materials. So the total volume calculated here, this is 50%, so it earns a score of 56%. If all of this material was manufactured and extracted locally, we can reach a score of 100%. Okay, this will be hard to achieve because all steel usually is imported, either from Turkey or from Ukraine or from China. So, but 90% can be managed, can be if a small percentage of the walls or external walls has steel content. Okay, for the windows, small note for the windows, here the entry is different. We have to enter first single, double, or triple glass, the frame type, if it is aluminum, steel, timber, UPVC, the thickness, the total area, similar here, the extraction distance and the manufacturing distance. But just the entry, the first entry here, we have to put two, which is the glass and the frame type. Okay, yes?
So in the previous section, we inputted one material, which is the walls, and we got 100%.
Yeah.
But what if we input in this section, what if we only had one material that's recycled, but all the other material we were using was not recycled?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna input only one material and get 100% on the section?
No, no, no. You have to input all the materials you have. Everything related to the external wall, the internal wall, and the floors and the windows.
So we have, okay.
Yes. You have to cover all the building envelope and partition, internal partition and structure. Okay? So as I mentioned, for the regional, it's 90% to earn 100% score. For the recycled content, it's only 20%. If you have recycled content within the building material that reach 20% by volume, you will earn a score of 100%. Okay? Because we know it's very difficult to have 90% recycled content within building materials. The third criterion is the material environmental impact, which is embodied energy. Do you know what's embodied energy? I see that you say yes. Okay. Embodied energy is the energy associated with the extraction of material, the processing, and the manufacturing of the products. Okay, so we have taken this into consideration in our rating system. And also similar to the previous input, we have automatically these are populated here, including the thickness, the area. And based from the material database that we have created, this is automatically also calculated. We have values for each type of material, the embodied carbon in megajoule per cubic meter. Okay? Here we are comparing to a baseline because we need to have a baseline to compare the embodied carbon and to generate the score accordingly. The baseline for the external walls, sorry, I have to go to the database. Okay. For the external walls, the baseline for us will be this, the hollow concrete block normal mass. So we are comparing our building material with the embodied carbon of this, which is 1,454 megajoule per cubic meter. For flooring material, for floors and roof, we are comparing with reinforced concrete. So which is the concrete with the steel rebars. Okay, which has this embodied energy. And for windows, we are comparing with double glass with aluminum frame. Okay, which is the most common type of glazing we use locally. Okay, so let's say we input a material here. Thickness 200, area 100. So here we notice that the total embodied carbon is higher than our baseline because we input cement plaster, which is a dense material. It's not like hollow blocks. If we input something else, like I can't see. Okay, so concrete cast cellular, which is a very lightweight material. The embodied carbon here is 14,000 compared to 29,000 for the baseline. And at the end, we can see the score is 100% because we achieve 20% reduction over the baseline. Okay, so whenever we achieve a reduction over the baseline, we can earn a score up to 20%, we reach a score of 100%. Clear? Okay. Next is material durability and maintenance. Here what we focus on is the durability of the building, of the selection of building materials, and how we protect the building also from the environment, from from wind, from car circulation around the building, from rain. So first thing we ask is to have, to prepare a building durability and maintenance plan. Yes, no. Next, we request protection of vulnerable parts of the building. For example, some buildings you can see that they have a glass envelope, واجهة إزاز, and the cars can go inside the building. So ما في حماية للإزاز من السيارات اللي برا. So what we ask for is to have some type of protection like bollards, like maybe concrete stops. This is for the first part. The second part is regarding waterproofing and leakage protection. Also, there are many buildings that do not implement waterproofing in a good way. That's why we are asking for this. Drainage system for foundation and retaining walls. UV and high temperature resistant building envelope finishes. Ease of access to maintenance. Also, some buildings we have seen that have not, they don't have access to some parts of the building or some equipment. So we should provide this ease of access. Protection against pests and insects by, for example, providing screens on building openings to prevent any insects from entering the buildings or rodents. Or next is also protection against unwanted vegetation growth. Sometimes we do a balcony with a green roof, or we plant some trees there, and after a while we can see from the below floor that there are cracks in the concrete. This is because the roots of the plants can penetrate concrete. That's why we have to implement this protection measure. And finally, other contaminants that may affect the building durability. This is based on site by site. We have to assess it site by site. We have to check if there are any material that can impact the building durability and maybe impact also the maintenance. Okay, the next one is material reuse. For material reuse, it's similar to the previous ones regarding regional and recycled material. But here we are asking for what is the percentage of reused material. This is mostly applied to buildings that are receiving major renovation. If we have an existing building and we are doing major renovation, most of the time we keep the floors, the structural columns, sometimes the partitions inside. and the roof. So whatever percentage of this material that is kept and not changed, we can consider it as reused material. Sometimes also the windows and the doors. Okay, and here the score is calculated if we keep at least 20% of the building as it is without changing it, we can reach a score of 100%. Okay, clear? Next one is the certified sustainable materials. And this criterion we are focusing mainly on the wood part, but we can add other materials along the way. So we can add the gypsum boards, we can add whatever material that has a good certification program for sustainability, we can add that here. So for example, product description, let's say it's a door. Thickness 100 millimeters, area 200 for the whole building. A percentage certified, because sometimes we don't have everything certified within the building, so let's say 50%. And here we have to specify the certification scheme. We have multiple certification schemes for wood. Either it's FSC from the US, PEFC in Europe, SFI, it's international, MTCS Malaysian, and CSA is Canadian. We can have other rating systems as well, or certification system for sustainable materials. So percentage certified 50%, let's say it's FSC. So here the percentage, the score is calculated based directly on the percentage of certified products. We have 50% certified products, so the score is 50%. Okay, it's calculated on the overall material, not only for each material. Yes?
I had a question regarding the previous criterion.
Yes.
For the windows, if the windows are below the baseline, they are counted also as reused material? As
below the
baseline, which is double glazing.
Okay. Each criterion is separate.
Because in another rating system, we cannot count the windows. Because and many times the old windows are not performing well in thermal comfort.
Okay. هلا بخصوص thermal comfort, this is separate. This is بالenergy. Okay, we cover the envelope, the U values بالenergy. Regarding reuse of material, if you have window existing وتركتها, this is 100% eligible.
Even if it is bad for cooling.
Yes, ما بيأثر. يعني هيدي بتتحسب عليها بالانرجي مش بالماتيريالز. اوكي. هلا من ناحية الامباديد كاربون، الامباديد كاربون if you have existing material وخليتها كمان this is 100% eligible. لأنه you're not buying new materials, you're using the existing ones which has يعني فينا نعتبر zero embodied carbon, embodied energy. Okay. وهلا رح نشوفها بفتكر آخر يوم الانرجي. You will see the U values, how it will affect the building performance and. Okay, so this is it for the sustainable material sourcing. Now we move to yes.
Here you consider one dimension for the material rating. I mean by carbon footprint, either for transportation or for embedded energy. What about the water footprint of the material? It is very important.
Water footprint. Maybe in the update we can consider it. Our, يعني فينا
because we don't have enough data.
No data are here, like the tables that Rami just shown. We have eco-inventory present here.
I am waiting for the link that you are going to send us.
في كمان عندنا criteria بالبونس اسمها life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment we take into consideration كمان water use. Okay, but يعني this is considered as a bonus because we know it is very complicated to do this stuff. We usually use generic materials. We don't use actual data from actual materials that we have. And from personal experience, it's very hard. We never had a material that has this sheet that mentions the life cycle, the impact, not only global warming, acidification, eutrophication, ozone depletion. It's very hard to have this, at least here.
You have them, but you have to pay for it. But if Riyadh could get contact with ISO, they will provide them.
For generic materials.
Yes.
يعني for example, we
For life
consider
cycle,
concrete.
14,044
Yes.
is based on the 14,046 is the water footprint.
Mm.
It's based on life cycle assessment.
Okay.
And the database you have to pay for it. And each material have a
Okay,
database for it.
I understand. هلا if we have, for example, a product, يمكن product you have product certified from Europe, but if you buy concrete from Lebanon, you should have a certification for this specific
Exactly.
product in order to have
It is
accurate data.
geographic specific.
Yes. So if you get the ISO standard, it may be generic. It may be like average for
No,
the
it will
world.
tell you you have a lot of table.
Yeah.
If the provenance of your material coming from Malaysia, it have a water footprint such.
Okay.
If it is from
Okay. They
Canada,
did the statistics
it's
and the
geographic
research.
specific.
Okay.
Ali, what we have taken into consideration in the whole rating system, there is a family which is called bonus, and in bonus there are some ideas in some criteria, and there is always a criterion that exists in all families of bonus for the 5 modules, which is innovation. So all these, okay, if somebody has the data and has made the effort, okay, they can apply for an extra through innovation. This is the worst case. Although we have taken into consideration other criteria that will be integrated in the bonus. So this is how we have resolved this problem.
In innovation.
Okay?
But it's not innovation, it's a
لأنه-
part of it.
Yes, this is part because you are an expert, Ali, and you have represented Lebanon in implementing ISO 14044.
046.
046. Okay, you are one of the Lebanese experts, but not me, for example.
No, but
you.
you did a big job, and
Yeah.
Since you have the table for embedded energy, you can get similar thing, but for water. So now you address the 2 dimension, carbon footprint and water footprint for all materials, and the rating becomes more reflective of the environment.
We can include in the user manual this idea.
Okay.
So we can say, we can educate, because there is an education scope for this rating system, that dear user, if you think about studying the water footprint of your building, you will have you will be entitled to a bonus. So this can happen. Thank you, Ali, for your